You are not standing still. You have never stood still, not once in your entire life. Right now, as you read these words, you are hurtling through space at speeds that would obliterate anything in your path, tracing a trajectory so complex that no human mind has ever fully visualized it, carving a path through the cosmos that will never, ever repeat itself. You believe you are sitting in a chair, lying in bed, standing in a room. You believe the ground beneath you is stable, that the world around you is fixed, that when you return to a place, you are returning to where you were, but you are wrong, profoundly, fundamentally wrong. The place you were 5 seconds ago no longer exists in any meaningful sense. It is gone, left behind in the void, unreachable, separated from you by thousands of kilometers of empty space. And by the time you finish this sentence, you will have traveled farther through the galaxy than the distance between cities, farther than you have ever walked in your life, and you will never pass through that region of space again, not in 1,000 years, not in 1,000,000, not ever. This is not metaphor. This is not poetic exaggeration. This is the literal, physical reality of your existence, and almost no one understands it. We teach children that the Earth rotates, that it orbits the sun, and we stop there, as if that completes the picture. But that is only the beginning. Those motions are just the surface, the first layer of a movement so vast, so intricate, so utterly alien to human intuition that when you truly grasp it, when you see the full shape of Earth's journey through the galaxy, something shifts inside you. The ground stops feeling solid, the sky stops feeling fixed. You begin to understand that everything you thought was stable is actually in freefall, that the universe is not a place you inhabit, but a current you are swept along by, and that current is carrying you towards something you cannot see, at speeds you cannot feel, along a path that was set in motion billions of years before you were born. If exploring these hidden motions of reality pulls you deeper into wonder, subscribe to Beyond the Universe, where every question leads farther into the unknown, where science becomes the doorway to existential revelation, and where the cosmos reveals itself not as a collection of facts, but as a mystery that grows deeper the more you understand. Because what you are about to discover will change the way you see everything. It will change the way you think about motion, about time, about what it means to be somewhere. And it begins with a simple question that no one asks. When Earth moves through space, what path does it actually trace? Most people, if they think about it at all, imagine something like a spiral. The Earth orbits the sun moves through the galaxy, so Earth must trace a spiral path, like a corkscrew moving forward through space. It is a reasonable assumption. It is also completely wrong. The path Earth traces through the galaxy is not a spiral. It is not a helix. It is not any shape you have ever seen or could easily draw. It is a chaotic, tumbling, three-dimensional curve that loops and weaves and doubles back on itself in ways that defy simple visualization. A trajectory so complex that it can only be understood in pieces, layer by layer, motion by motion. And each layer, each new motion you add to the picture, makes the previous one seem small, makes the whole system seem more impossible, until you are left staring at a truth so strange that it feels like the universe is playing a trick on you. But this is only the first layer. Let us start with what you know, or think you know. The Earth rotates. Once every 24 hours it spins on its axis, carrying you with it at over 1,000 kilometers per hour if you are standing at the equator, slower if you are farther north or south, but always moving, always turning. You do not feel this motion, because everything around you is moving with you, because the atmosphere is dragged along by the planet's rotation, because your inner ear has no reference point to detect the spin, but it is there. Right now you are rotating through space faster than the speed of sound, and you have been doing so since the moment you were born. That is the first motion, the most familiar, the one we teach children. But it is also the least significant, because compared to what comes next, the Earth's rotation is almost trivial. The second motion is the orbit. The Earth does not simply spin in place, it revolves around the sun, completing one full orbit every 25 days, tracing an elliptical path through space at an average speed of about 30 kilometers per second. 30 kilometers per second. Think about that for a moment. In the time it takes you to read this sentence, you have traveled hundreds of kilometers through space, carried along by the Earth's orbital motion, moving faster than any bullet, faster than any spacecraft humanity has ever built. And yet you feel nothing. No wind, no acceleration, no sense of motion at all. Because once again, everything around you is moving with you. The air, the ground, the buildings, the trees, all of it locked into the same orbit, all of it falling around the sun together in a perfectly synchronized dance, that has been going on for 4.5 billion years. But here is where it starts to get strange. Here is where the simple picture begins to crack, because the sun is not standing still. The sun is not the fixed center of anything. It is moving, and it is moving fast, and it is dragging the entire solar system along with it. The sun orbits the center of the Milky Way galaxy, completing one full orbit every 225 to 250 million years, a period so vast that it has been given its own name, a galactic year. In the time since the dinosaurs walked the Earth, the sun has completed less than 1/3 of a single orbit. In the time since the first multicellular life appeared on this planet, the sun has gone around the galaxy only about 20 times. And right now, at this very moment, the sun is moving through the galaxy at approximately 220 kilometers per second, carrying the Earth, the planets, the asteroids, everything in the solar system along with it. Now pause, take a breath, because this is where most explanations stop, and this is where the real mystery begins. If the Earth is orbiting the sun at 30 kilometers per second, and the sun is moving through the galaxy at 220 kilometers per second, then what is Earth's actual velocity through space? You might think you can simply add them together, that Earth is moving at 250 kilometers per second, but that is not how it works. Velocity is a vector. It has direction as well as magnitude, and the Earth's orbital motion is not aligned with the sun's motion through the galaxy. Sometimes the Earth is moving in the same direction as the sun, and its velocity adds to the sun's velocity. Sometimes it is moving in the opposite direction, and its velocity subtracts from the sun's velocity. And most of the time, it is moving at an angle, neither fully with nor fully against the sun's motion, creating a velocity that is constantly changing, constantly shifting, as the Earth swings around its orbit. This means that Earth's speed through the galaxy is not constant. It oscillates. It varies by about 60 kilometers per second over the course of a year, speeding up and slowing down as the Earth moves through different parts of its orbit. In January, when the Earth is on one side of the sun, it is moving through the galaxy at about 250 kilometers per second. In July, when it is on the other side, it is moving at about 190 kilometers per second. The difference is enormous, equivalent to the speed of a fast spacecraft, and yet you feel nothing. No jolt, no change, just the smooth, imperceptible flow of motion that defines your existence. But this is still not the full picture. This is still just the beginning, because the sun's motion through the galaxy is not a simple straight line. The sun is not moving in the same direction as the galaxy's rotation. It is moving at an angle, tilted relative to the galactic plane, and this tilt changes everything. The solar system is inclined at about 60 degrees to the plane of the Milky Way, which means that as the sun orbits the galactic center, it is also bobbing up and down, oscillating above and below the galactic disk, like a horse on a carousel. This vertical motion has a period of about 64 million years, meaning that the sun crosses the galactic plane roughly once every 32 million years, rising above it, reaching a maximum height of about 230 light years, then falling back down, crossing the plane again, descending to a maximum depth of about 230 light years below, then rising once more. And the Earth, of course, is carried along with this motion. As the sun bobs up and down through the galaxy, the Earth bobs with it, tracing a path that is not just a spiral, not just a helix, but something far more complex. A three-dimensional curve that weaves through space in a way that has no simple name, no easy analogy. Imagine a ribbon twisting through the air, looping and curling as it falls, and you begin to approach the shape of Earth's path through the galaxy. But even that is not quite right, because the ribbon is still too simple, too regular. Earth's path is irregular, chaotic, influenced by the gravitational pull of nearby stars, by the density waves that ripple through the galactic disk, by the slow, grinding rotation of the galaxy itself. But something even stranger happens when you zoom out further, when you stop thinking about the sun's motion relative to the galaxy and start thinking about the galaxy's motion relative to the universe. Because the Milky Way is not standing still either. The Milky Way is moving, and it is moving fast, and it is moving in a direction that has nothing to do with its own rotation. The galaxy is falling towards something massive, something so large that it is pulling not just our galaxy but dozens of other galaxies, entire clusters of galaxies, toward it at speeds of hundreds of kilometers per second. This thing has a name. It is called the Great Attractor, and it is one of the most mysterious structures in the known universe. The Great Attractor is a gravitational anomaly located about 150 million light-years away, in the direction of the constellations Hydra and Centaurus. It is not a single object. It is a region of space where the density of matter is so high that it warps the fabric of space-time itself, creating a gravitational well so deep that everything within hundreds of millions of light years is being pulled toward it. The Milky Way is moving toward the Great Attractor at about 600 kilometers per second, and this motion is completely independent of the galaxy's rotation, completely independent of the sun's orbit, completely independent of anything happening within the galaxy itself. It is a motion imposed from outside, a current in the cosmic ocean that we are powerless to resist. And this means that Earth's motion through the universe is even more complex than you thought. It is not just rotating. It is not just orbiting the sun. It is not just being carried along by the sun's orbit around the galaxy. It is also being dragged through intergalactic space by the Milky Way's motion toward the Great Attractor, adding yet another layer of velocity, yet another vector to the equation. And if you try to calculate Earth's total velocity through space, if you try to add up all these motions, all these vectors, you quickly realize that the question itself is more complicated than it seems. Because velocity is relative. Velocity is always measured relative to something. And in the universe, there is no absolute reference frame, no fixed point against which all motion can be measured. You can measure Earth's velocity relative to the sun. You can measure it relative to the center of the galaxy. You can measure it relative to the Great Attractor, or relative to the cosmic microwave background, the faint afterglow of the Big Bang that fills all of space. But each of these measurements will give you a different answer, and none of them is more correct than any other. There is no such thing as Earth's true velocity, because there is no such thing as absolute motion. There is only motion relative to other things, and the choice of reference frame is arbitrary, a matter of convenience rather than fundamental truth. This is one of the deepest insights of relativity, and it is also one of the most unsettling, because it means that the universe has no fixed stage, no background against which events unfold. There is only motion, endless motion, and the relationships between moving things. But that leads to a deeper question, a question that most people never think to ask. If there is no absolute motion, if all velocity is relative, then what does it mean to say that Earth is moving at all? What does it mean to say that you are moving? You feel stationary, the ground beneath you feels solid, the air around you feels still, and yet you are told that you are hurtling through space at hundreds of kilometers per second, that you are tracing a path through the galaxy that will never repeat, that you are part of a cosmic dance that has been going on for billions of years. But if you cannot feel this motion, if there is no experiment you can perform, no measurement you can make from within your own reference frame that would reveal it, then in what sense is it real? In what sense does it matter? This is not a trivial question. This is not philosophical word games. This is a question about the nature of reality itself, about what it means for something to be true. And the answer, the deeply strange answer that modern physics gives us, is that motion is real, but it is not absolute. It is real in the sense that it has consequences, that it affects the relationships between objects, that it determines what you can see and what you cannot see, what you can reach and what you cannot reach. But it is not absolute in the sense that there is no privileged perspective, no God's eye view from which the true motion of things can be observed. Every observer, every reference frame, has its own equally valid description of motion, and the universe does not prefer one over another. And this brings us to one of the most profound and disturbing implications of Earth's motion through the galaxy. The realization that the place you are right now, the specific point in space that you occupy at this moment, is not just temporary, not just fleeting, but utterly unique and unrepeatable. You will never be here again. Not in this exact spot. Not in this exact configuration of space and time. Because the Earth is moving, the sun is moving, the galaxy is moving, and all of these motions are carrying you forward through space in a way that never reverses, never loops back, never returns to where it started. The path you are tracing through the universe is a one-way journey, and every moment, every second, takes you farther from where you have been and closer to where you have never been before. Think about what this means. Think about the implications. When you visit a place, when you return to a childhood home or a favorite park or a city you once lived in, you think you are going back to where you were, but you are not. You are going back to the same location on Earth's surface, the same latitude and longitude, but that location has moved. It has moved thousands of kilometers through space since the last time you were there. It has moved millions of kilometers since you were a child. It has moved billions of kilometers since the place was built. The Earth's surface is like the deck of a ship, and you are walking around on that deck, thinking you are moving from place to place. But the ship itself is sailing through an ocean so vast, that the distances you walk are insignificant compared to the distance the ship has traveled. And this means that the past is not just gone in time, it is gone in space. The place where you were born, the exact point in space where you took your first breath, is now trillions of kilometers away, separated from you by an unbridgeable gulf of empty space. You cannot go back there. You cannot even point to where it was, because where is a meaningless concept without a reference frame, and there is no reference frame that makes the past accessible. The past is not behind you. It is elsewhere, scattered across the galaxy, a trail of moments and locations that you have left behind like breadcrumbs in a forest, except that these breadcrumbs are moving, drifting, dispersing, and there is no path that leads back to them. This is the first crack in the foundation of your intuition about reality. This is the first moment when the solid ground of everyday experience begins to feel less solid, when the simple idea of here and there starts to dissolve into something more complex, more fluid, more strange. Because if the past is not behind you, if it is scattered across space in a way that makes it unreachable, then what does it mean to remember the past? What does it mean to say that something happened here, when here is a moving target, a point on a spinning, orbiting, falling planet that is itself embedded in a spinning, orbiting, falling galaxy? What does it mean to have a history, a personal narrative, a sense of continuity, when the stage on which that narrative unfolds is constantly shifting, constantly moving, constantly leaving itself behind? But this is only the first layer of strangeness. This is only the beginning of the vertigo, because there is another motion, another layer of complexity that we have not yet discussed. And this motion is so subtle, so difficult to detect, that it was only discovered in the last few decades, and its implications are still being worked out. This motion is the expansion of space itself. The universe is not just filled with galaxies that are moving through space. The universe is expanding, and this expansion is carrying galaxies away from each other, stretching the fabric of space itself, creating new space between objects even as those objects remain stationary relative to the space around them. This is a difficult concept to grasp because it violates our intuition about how motion works. We are used to thinking of motion as something that happens in space, as objects moving from one location to another through a fixed background. But the expansion of the universe is not like that. It is not objects moving through space. It is space itself growing, stretching, inflating, and carrying objects along with it. Imagine a balloon with dots drawn on its surface. As you inflate the balloon, the dots move away from each other, not because they are moving across the surface of the balloon, but because the surface itself is expanding. The universe is like that balloon, and the galaxies are like the dots. And the expansion is not something happening in space, but something happening to space. And this expansion affects Earth's motion in a way that is almost impossible to visualize, because the expansion of space is not uniform. It is not the same everywhere. It is stronger in regions where the density of matter is low, and weaker in regions where the density is high. Within the solar system, within the galaxy, the expansion of space is negligible, overwhelmed by the gravitational forces that hold these structures together. But on larger scales, on the scales of galaxy clusters and superclusters, the expansion becomes significant, and it adds yet another layer of motion to the already complex picture of Earth's journey through the cosmos. The Milky Way is part of a structure called the local group, a collection of about 80 galaxies bound together by gravity. The local group is part of a larger structure called the Virgo supercluster, a vast web of galaxies and galaxy clusters that spans about 110 million light-years. And the Virgo supercluster is part of an even larger structure called Laniakea, a supercluster of superclusters that contains about 100,000 galaxies and spans about 520 million light-years. These structures are held together by gravity, but they are also being pulled apart by the expansion of space, and the balance between these two forces determines the ultimate fate of the universe. Right now, the expansion of space is winning, the universe is expanding, and the rate of expansion is accelerating, driven by a mysterious force called dark energy that permeates all of space and pushes galaxies apart. This means that the distant galaxies we see today are moving away from us, and they are moving away faster and faster. And eventually, billions of years from now, they will be moving away so fast that their light will no longer be able to reach us. The universe will become dark, empty, a lonely place where each galaxy is an island, isolated from all the others by an unbridgeable expanse of expanding space. But that is the far future. Right now, in this moment, the expansion of space is just one more motion, one more layer of complexity, one more vector to add to the already dizzying equation of Earth's journey through the cosmos. And when you add it all up, when you try to visualize the full picture, you realize that Earth's path through the universe is not a line, not a spiral, not a helix, not any simple geometric shape. It is a chaotic, tumbling, four-dimensional trajectory that weaves through space and time in a way that defies human intuition, a path that is unique, unrepeatable, and utterly alien to the static, stable world of everyday experience. And yet, despite all this motion, despite the fact that you are hurtling through space at hundreds of kilometers per second, tracing a path that will never repeat, you feel nothing. You sit in your chair, you lie in your bed, you stand in your room, and the world around you feels solid, stable, unchanging. The ground beneath your feet does not tremble. The air around you does not rush past. The stars above you do not blur into streaks of light. Everything feels still, and this stillness is one of the deepest mysteries of existence because it reveals something profound about the nature of motion and the nature of reality itself. The reason you do not feel Earth's motion is not because the motion is slow. It is not slow. It is faster than anything you have ever experienced, faster than any vehicle you have ever ridden in, faster than the speed of sound, faster than the speed of a bullet. The reason you do not feel it is because motion in and of itself is undetectable. What you feel is not motion but acceleration, the change in motion. As long as you are moving at a constant velocity, as long as your speed and direction are not changing, you cannot feel the motion. You cannot detect it. You cannot distinguish it from being at rest. This is the principle of relativity, first articulated by Galileo, refined by Einstein, and it is one of the most fundamental truths about the universe. But Earth's motion is not constant. It is constantly changing. The Earth is rotating, which means that every point on its surface is constantly accelerating toward the center, constantly changing direction as it spins. The Earth is orbiting the Sun, which means it is constantly accelerating toward the Sun, constantly changing direction as it revolves. The Sun is orbiting the galaxy, which means it is constantly accelerating toward the galactic center, constantly changing direction as it moves through its orbit. And yet, despite all these accelerations, despite all these changes in motion, you feel almost nothing. You feel a slight centrifugal force from the Earth's rotation, a slight bulge at the equator, a slight reduction in your weight, but that is all. The other accelerations, the orbital accelerations, the galactic accelerations are so small, so gentle, that they are completely imperceptible to human senses. This is because acceleration, like velocity, is relative. What matters is not the absolute magnitude of the acceleration, but the acceleration relative to the objects around you. And because everything on Earth is accelerating together, because the ground, the air, the buildings, the trees, all of it is locked into the same orbit, the same rotation, the same galactic motion, the relative acceleration between you and your surroundings is zero. You are in freefall, but so is everything else, and in freefall you feel weightless, you feel motionless, you feel as if you are standing still. This is the same principle that allows astronauts to float inside the International Space Station, even though the station is orbiting the Earth at 28,000 kilometers per hour. They are not floating because there is no gravity. They are floating because they are falling, and the station is falling with them. And in that shared free fall, there is no sensation of motion, no sensation of weight, no sensation of anything except the gentle, imperceptible drift of objects in space. And this brings us to one of the most profound and unsettling realizations about Earth's motion through the galaxy. The realization that you are always in free fall. You have always been in free fall. You will always be in free fall. The ground beneath your feet is not holding you up. It is accelerating upward to meet you, pushing against you with a force that we call weight. But that force is not the force of gravity. It is the force of the ground resisting your free fall, the force of the Earth's surface pushing up against you as you try to fall toward the center. If the ground were to suddenly disappear, if the Earth were to vanish, you would not fall. You would continue moving in a straight line, at a constant velocity, tracing the same path through space that you were tracing before, because in the absence of external forces, objects move in straight lines. This is Newton's first law, and it is also one of the most counterintuitive truths about the universe. But the ground does not disappear, the Earth does not vanish, and so you are held here, pressed against the surface, feeling the force of the ground pushing up against you, and you interpret this force as weight, as the pull of gravity, as the Earth holding you down. But it is not the Earth holding you down, it is the Earth pushing you up, preventing you from following your natural path through space-time, which is a path of freefall, a path of constant velocity, a path that would take you away from the earth and into the void if the ground were not there to stop you. This is the insight of general relativity, the realization that gravity is not a force that pulls you down, but a curvature of space-time that defines what straight means, and that the ground is constantly accelerating upward to prevent you from following that straight path. And this means that the sensation of standing still, the sensation of being at rest, is an illusion. You are not at rest. You are being accelerated. You are being pushed. You are being held in place by a force that is constantly acting on you, constantly preventing you from moving in the way that you naturally would move if left alone. And this force, this constant upward acceleration of the ground, is what creates the sensation of weight, the sensation of solidity, the sensation that the world around you is stable and unchanging. But it is not stable. It is not unchanging. It is constantly pushing, constantly accelerating, constantly holding you in place as the Earth spins and orbits and falls through the galaxy, tracing a path through space that is so complex, so chaotic, so utterly beyond human intuition that it can only be understood in pieces, layer by layer, motion by motion. But something even stranger happens when you start to think about what all this motion means for the nature of time, because time and space are not separate, they are not independent. They are woven together into a single fabric called space-time, and motion through space is also motion through time. And the path you trace through the universe is not just a path through three-dimensional space, but a path through four-dimensional space-time, a trajectory that includes not just where you are, but when you are. And this means that Earth's motion through the galaxy is not just a spatial journey, but a temporal journey, a movement through time as well as space, and the two are inseparable. This is one of the deepest insights of relativity, and it is also one of the most difficult to grasp. We are used to thinking of time as something that flows, something that passes, something that moves forward at a constant rate regardless of what we do or where we are. But relativity tells us that this is wrong. Time does not flow. Time does not pass. Time is a dimension, like space, and motion through time is relative, just like motion through space. Different observers, moving at different velocities, will measure time differently. Clocks moving at high speeds will tick more slowly than clocks at rest. Clocks in strong gravitational fields will tick more slowly than clocks in weak gravitational fields. And this means that the rate at which you experience time, the rate at which your clock ticks, depends on your motion through space and your position in space-time. And this has profound implications for Earth's motion through the galaxy, because the Earth is moving at different speeds at different times of the year, because it is bobbing up and down through the galactic disk, because it is being carried along by the sun's orbit and the galaxy's motion and the expansion of space. The rate at which time passes on Earth is not constant. It varies ever so slightly, depending on where the Earth is in its orbit, where the sun is in its galactic orbit, where the galaxy is in its motion through the universe. These variations are tiny, far too small to measure with any clock we have, far too small to affect your daily life in any noticeable way, but they are real. They are there, and they mean that time on Earth is not a simple, uniform flow, but a complex, variable process that is intimately connected to Earth's motion through space. But that leads to an even deeper question, a question that strikes at the heart of what it means to exist in time. If time is relative, if the rate at which time passes depends on your motion and your position in space-time, then what does it mean to say that two events happen at the same time? What does it mean to say that something is happening now, on a distant planet, or in a distant galaxy, or on the other side of the universe? The answer, the deeply unsettling answer that relativity gives us, is that there is no such thing as absolute simultaneity. There is no universal now. There is no moment that is the same for all observers, regardless of their motion or their position in space-time. What is now for you is not now for someone moving at a different velocity, and there is no way to determine which of you is correct, because both of you are correct, and neither of you is correct, and the universe does not prefer one perspective over another. This is one of the most disturbing implications of relativity, because it means that the present moment, the now that you experience, is not a universal feature of reality. It is a local feature, a perspective, a slice through space-time that is unique to you and your motion. Someone moving at a different velocity will have a different now, a different present moment, and their present moment will include events that are in your past or your future, and there is no objective way to say which of you is experiencing the true present. The present is not a fixed point in time. It is a moving target, a perspective that shifts depending on your motion. and this means that the universe does not have a single, unified present moment. It has many present moments, one for each observer, and they are all equally valid and they are all different. And this brings us to one of the most profound and unsettling questions about Earth's motion through the galaxy. If the present moment is relative, if now is different for different observers, then what does it mean to say that Earth is moving through the galaxy right now? What does it mean to say that you are at a particular location in space at this moment? Because the moment you are experiencing is not the same moment that someone on a distant planet is experiencing, and the location you are at is not the same location relative to different reference frames, and the whole idea of a single objective reality that exists independently of observers begins to break down. Reality, it turns out, is not a fixed stage on which events unfold. It is a web of relationships, a network of perspectives, a collection of overlapping, intersecting, contradictory descriptions that are all true from their own point of view, and none of which is more fundamental than any other. This is the point where science begins to feel like philosophy, where the solid ground of empirical fact begins to give way to the shifting sands of interpretation and perspective, and this is also the point where many people begin to feel uncomfortable, because it challenges some of our deepest intuitions about the nature of reality. We want to believe that there is a single, objective truth, a God's eye view of the universe that shows things as they really are, independent of any observer. But relativity tells us that this is an illusion, that there is no God's eye view, that every perspective is partial, every description is incomplete, and the universe as a whole is too complex, too multifaceted, too deeply interconnected to be captured by any single description. But this does not mean that reality is subjective. It does not mean that anything goes, that all perspectives are equally valid, in the sense that they are all equally arbitrary. Some perspectives are more useful than others. Some descriptions are more accurate than others. Some reference frames are more natural than others for describing particular phenomena. But none of them is absolute. None of them is privileged. None of them reveals the true nature of reality in a way that excludes all other perspectives. Reality is what it is, independent of observers, but our descriptions of reality are always observer-dependent, always perspective-dependent, always incomplete. And this is not a limitation of our knowledge, it is a fundamental feature of the universe itself. And this brings us back to Earth's motion through the galaxy, and to the question of what it means to say that Earth is moving at all. Because if motion is relative, if there is no absolute reference frame, if every description of motion is equally valid from its own perspective, then the question, how is Earth really moving through the galaxy, is not a question with a single, definitive answer. It is a question with many answers depending on what reference frame you choose, what perspective you adopt, what aspect of Earth's motion you are interested in. You can describe Earth's motion relative to the Sun, and that gives you one answer. You can describe it relative to the galactic center, and that gives you another answer. You can describe it relative to the cosmic microwave background, and that gives you yet another answer. And all of these answers are correct, and none of them is more real than any other. But there is one description of Earth's motion that is particularly interesting, particularly revealing, particularly useful for understanding our place in the cosmos. And that is the description of Earth's motion relative to the cosmic microwave background, the faint afterglow of the Big Bang that fills all of space. The cosmic microwave background is the oldest light in the universe, emitted about 380,000 years after the Big Bang, when the universe cooled enough for atoms to form and light to travel freely through space. This light has been traveling through the universe ever since, stretched and redshifted by the expansion of space, and it now appears as a faint glow of microwave radiation that is almost perfectly uniform in all directions. Almost, but not quite. Because when we measure the cosmic microwave background, we find that it is slightly warmer in one direction and slightly cooler in the opposite direction. And this asymmetry reveals something profound about our motion through the universe. The asymmetry is caused by the Doppler effect, the same effect that makes the sound of a passing car change pitch as it moves toward you and then away from you. As we move through the cosmic microwave background, the light in the direction we are moving toward is blue-shifted, compressed, made slightly warmer, and the light in the direction we are moving away from is red-shifted, stretched, made slightly cooler. And by measuring this asymmetry, we can measure our motion relative to the universe itself, not in any absolute sense, because absolute motion does not exist, but relative to the frame defined by the oldest light in existence. And when we do that, the answer is staggering. The Milky Way, carrying the Sun, carrying the Earth, carrying you, is moving relative to the cosmic microwave background at about 600 kilometers per second toward the constellation Leo. That is the speed of our local cosmic drift. The speed of our journey through the universe is measured against the relic radiation of the Big Bang, not the rotation of the Earth, not the orbit around the Sun, not even the orbit around the galaxy. This is the broader motion, the one that places our entire galaxy within the context of the observable universe, and it reveals that we are not merely orbiting a star. We are riding a galactic mass through a larger gravitational geography that extends far beyond anything the naked eye can imagine. But even this is not the final answer. It never is, because the universe does not stop at the cosmic microwave background, and neither does our motion. The Milky Way is not alone in this drift. It belongs to a vast association of galaxies and dark matter structures that form what cosmologists call the cosmic web, an immense network of filaments, walls, nodes, and voids, stretching across the observable universe like a system of arteries and open spaces so enormous that the scale of a single galaxy becomes almost laughably small. Galaxies are not scattered randomly through space. They gather along these filaments, clinging to the densest regions, while colossal voids expand between them, regions where matter is so sparse that a journey across them would feel like crossing an ocean made of absence. And here again, the story of Earth's motion becomes stranger, because the galaxy is not moving through an empty, featureless universe. It is moving through a structured universe, one shaped by the gravitational architecture laid down shortly after the Big Bang. Matter flowed into these filaments over billions of years, guided by tiny primordial variations in density, amplified by gravity, into a cosmic skeleton of extraordinary scale. The Milky Way is one bone in that skeleton, one luminous fragment in a greater organism of matter. Earth is carried not just through space, but through a landscape of gravity, carved by the entire history of the cosmos. Every direction of motion is a response to structure. Every velocity is a reply to ancient imbalance. This means that when you imagine Earth moving through the galaxy, you should not imagine a smooth, lonely glide through emptiness. You should imagine a vessel moving within a living architecture, buffeted by gravitational currents, bent by nearby masses, nudged by invisible tugs from neighboring stars, slowed and redirected by the collective influence of dark matter, and carried along by the broader flow of the local group toward the Virgo cluster and beyond. The motion is not pristine. It is not elegant in the classical sense. It is not a perfect orbit in a perfect void. It is messy, layered, cumulative. It is a history written in vector fields, and that phrase matters. A history written in vector fields. Because motion is not merely travel. Motion is memory. Every gravitational influence leaves a trace, and those traces become the shape of where you are now. The Earth's path is the residue of countless interactions. The gravitational pull of the moon, which shapes our tides and subtly slows Earth's rotation. The tug of Venus and Jupiter, which alter the orbital geometry over immense timescales. The sun's own movement through the Milky Way, which exposes the solar system to varying densities of interstellar matter and radiation. And the invisible hand of dark matter, whose presence is inferred not by light, but by the way it bends motion itself. The path you occupy is the result of all these influences layered together, like geological strata, except the rock is space-time, and the layers are accelerations. But there is a hidden danger in looking at motion this way. Once you begin to understand Earth as a thing being carried, you may begin to think of yourself as passive, a passenger, a speck on a moving planet, adrift in a vast, indifferent engine. But that would be too simple, and the universe is rarely that merciful. Because you are not merely being carried through the cosmos, you are also an arrangement of matter capable of noticing the motion, a pattern of atoms whose nervous system can infer a galaxy by measuring starlight, whose species has learned to reconstruct invisible trajectories from tiny shifts in spectral lines and background radiation. In other words, the universe is not just moving you. Through you, it is learning to see itself. That is one of the most sublime and unsettling facts hidden inside astronomy. The same species that evolved to track prey across grasslands has now traced the path of its planet through galactic space, measured the solar system's wobble around the Milky Way, inferred the presence of invisible mass, and mapped the large-scale structure of the universe out to billions of light years. You are part of the motion, and you are also part of the witness. The cosmos carries you, but it also speaks through you. It is as if the universe built eyes not on the surface of one world, but inside the surface of that world, so that it might look out at the architecture that made it. And still the questions deepen. Because if Earth's motion is this complex, If it is shaped by nested systems of rotation, revolution, galactic orbit, local group infall, cosmic expansion, and relativistic frame dependence, then what does location even mean anymore? When you say you are here, what are you pointing to? A coordinate on a rotating globe? A point in orbit around the sun? A position in the Milky Way? A state in space-time? A relation to the cosmic background? Here is no longer a simple place. It is a stack of reference frames, each one embedded in another, each one moving, each one incomplete on its own, each one requiring the others to make sense. The Earth itself is not a static object sitting in the universe. It is a moving solution to a gravitational problem. It is a temporary configuration, a balance of inertia and curvature, a sphere of rock, metal, air, and water that persists because the forces acting upon it are in a continual and delicate negotiation. The planet does not possess motion as a possession. It is motion. Its existence is inseparable from the paths it traces. If you were to remove all motion from Earth, you would remove Earth from the universe as we know it. The planet would no longer be a world in any meaningful sense because worlds are not defined by rest. They are defined by relation, by orbit, by rotation, by the ceaseless transformation of position. Now consider the Sun. It is not only dragging Earth through the galaxy. The Sun itself is part of a larger story, a story of stellar motion that extends beyond the Milky Way. The Sun belongs to a generation of stars born from the ashes of older stars, formed in a region of the galaxy enriched by previous explosions, assembled from matter forged in ancient stellar furnaces. The atom in your bones was once inside a star. The iron in your blood, the calcium in your teeth, the carbon in your cells, the oxygen you breathe, all of it was manufactured in stars that lived and died long before Earth existed. So when Earth moves through the galaxy, it is not merely carrying life, it is carrying the result of cosmic history, compressed into a world that can think about its own origins. And that means Earth's motion through the galaxy is not just physical, it is ancestral. It is the movement of inherited matter through inherited space, the continuation of processes that began in the first generations of stars, and perhaps even earlier, in the aftermath of the Big Bang, when the universe was still too hot and too dense for complexity to survive. The path of Earth is a descendant path. It is a line of motion authored by a universe that had to cool down, structure itself, and wait billions of years before matter could become aware of its own journey. But there is another, even quieter motion that matters here, a motion not of planets or stars but of time itself within the galaxy. The Milky Way is not a static entity, it evolves. Spiral arms form and dissolve, molecular clouds collapse into stars, supernovae blow bubbles into the interstellar medium, stars migrate, orbits shift, galactic neighborhoods change. The solar system is not traveling through a fixed Milky Way. It is moving through a changing one, a galaxy that breathes, reshapes itself, and slowly rewrites the environment around the Earth. The path through the galaxy is therefore also a passage through changing conditions, through shifting radiation fields, through periodic encounters with spiral arms, through possible passages through denser star-forming regions, each of which may have influenced the climate, biology, and history of life on Earth. Some scientists have suggested that as the solar system moves through the Milky Way, it may periodically pass through regions that expose Earth to more cosmic rays or perturb the Oort cloud, sending comets inward toward the inner solar system. These ideas remain active areas of research, refined and debated, but the larger point is undeniable. Earth's motion through the galaxy is not merely a grand celestial parade, it is a biological and geological influence. It may shape extinction cycles. It may influence climate. It may set the background conditions under which life evolves. The sky is not just above us. It is part of the deep environmental machinery of the planet, and that changes the meaning of the word home. Home is not just a place on the Earth. Earth itself is a moving home, a vessel in transit through an environment whose deeper rhythms shape the history of life. You live inside a planet that is moving through a star system that is moving through a galaxy, that is moving through a cluster that is moving through an expanding universe. Home is motion nested inside motion. Stability is a local agreement between forces. Familiarity is a brief truce between scales. This is where the emotional center of the story shifts, because once you understand Earth's motion this way, you may feel disoriented at first, even diminished. The ordinary certainty of everyday life can feel thin for a moment, as if the floor beneath meaning has become transparent. But then something else begins to emerge, something quieter and far more beautiful. If nothing is fixed, then nothing is trapped. If everything is in motion, then the universe is not a prison of static objects but a symphony of becoming. You are not stranded on a speck. You are participating in a vast process of transformation that stretches across scales so large they border on the sacred. That is the revelation waiting at the edge of the disturbance. Not that you are small in a humiliating sense, but that you are small in the way a note is small inside a symphony. Necessary, temporary, precise. Your life is brief compared to a galactic orbit, yes, but it is also a local expression of the same laws that move galaxies and bend light and form stars. The same physics that sends the Earth around the Sun also writes the spiral structure of galaxies and the growth of clusters and the expansion of the universe. The same reality that makes you feel the ground under your feet is the reality that pulls the Milky Way toward invisible mass across intergalactic darkness. You are not separate from the machinery. You are one of its rare moments of awareness. So when you ask how Earth really moves through the galaxy, the answer is not a single number. It is not even a single path. It is a layered act of belonging. The Earth spins, orbits, oscillates, falls, drifts, and is carried. It traces a curve inside a curve inside a curve. It is held by gravity and released into motion at the same time. It is fixed to the ground and the ground is racing through space. It is local and cosmic, temporary and ancient, ordinary and impossible. Its journey is not a straight line from one place to another. It is a living geometry, a passage written across the universe by the interplay of mass, time, and emptiness. And perhaps that is the deepest truth hidden in the question itself. Not where Earth is going, but what it means that anything can go anywhere at all. Because there is no still point outside the dance. There is no final rest in the visible universe. There is only motion relative to motion, structure emerging from flow, and consciousness opening its eyes inside the current long enough to ask where it is being carried. The answer is that it is being carried everywhere and nowhere, through the local and the immense, through the now and the ancient, through a cosmos that does not sit still long enough to become familiar. Look up at the night sky, and it appears as a dome of distance, a fixed map of lights. But that appearance is a convenience of your scale, a human translation of something far more dynamic. Those stars are moving too. The galaxy is not a picture, it is a process. The universe is not a backdrop, it is an unfolding. And the Earth, this blue and brittle world beneath your feet, is not resting inside it. It is traveling through it with sublime, relentless grace, carrying oceans, clouds, forests, cities, memories, and every question you have ever asked. And maybe that is why the story matters. Not because it strips away wonder, but because it reveals that wonder was always there, hidden inside motion itself. The Earth's journey through the galaxy is not a cold mechanical fact. It is a cosmic reminder that reality is always farther, deeper, and stranger than the stable surface we call everyday life. You are part of a world that is in motion around a star, that is in motion around a galaxy that is in motion through a larger architecture of matter and energy, and all of it is occurring inside a universe whose deepest nature still resists complete understanding. That does not make the universe less beautiful, it makes it more so. Because what could be more astonishing than this? That you, here now with your small human senses and your fragile human time, can look into the dark and reconstruct the motions of worlds, can infer the shape of a galaxy from the tilt of starlight, can discover that your own planet is a traveler and can feel, for one impossible moment, the grandeur of being carried, not lost, carried. There is a difference. Lost implies meaninglessness. Carried implies direction, relation, continuity. And Earth is carried with breathtaking precision through a universe that seems at once indifferent and exquisitely ordered. So the next time you feel still, remember that stillness is only the language of your scale. Beneath it, the Earth is turning. Beneath that, it is orbiting. Beneath that, it is gliding through the Milky Way. Beneath that, it is falling with a galaxy among galaxies. And beneath all of that lies the deeper truth that the cosmos is not merely a place you inhabit. It is the motion that made you possible, the vast rhythm that assembled the conditions for consciousness, and the same rhythm that will continue long after your brief moment of awareness has passed. And that is the sublime revelation. You are not an observer sealed off from the universe, looking out at motion from a place of rest. You are an expression of that motion, a living point of view inside the great unfolding, a temporary flame lit inside the traveling matter of a moving Earth. The universe is not something outside you. It is the scale at which your existence becomes possible. And if that thought unsettles you, let it. Then let it become wonder. Because the truth is not that you are insignificant. The truth is that you belong to something so vast, so old and so beautifully in motion, that the mind can only approach it by becoming quiet. In the end, Earth does not move through the galaxy like a solitary object crossing an empty room. It moves like a note inside a chord, like a spiral in a storm, like a story carried by a larger story. It moves through gravity, through time, through structure, through history. It moves through a universe that is still writing itself. And you, right now, are part of that writing, part of that motion, part of the answer. And once you see that, you cannot unsee it. The floor beneath you is no longer just a floor. It is a momentary alignment of forces on a turning world that is itself moving through a cosmic current far larger than your senses were ever built to detect. The ceiling above you is not simply overhead. It is part of a local geometry that exists because gravity, inertia, and time have arranged matter into the temporary shape of a room. Even the air feels different after this realization. Not physically, not yet, but conceptually, as if the invisible medium around you is no longer empty space but a corridor of unfolding distance, threaded with motion you had previously mistaken for stillness. And the strange part is that none of this has made the world less real. It has made it more exact. Because reality, when it is finally examined without the comforting blur of habit, does not simplify itself for human convenience. It deepens. It reveals layers where you expected surfaces. It reveals currents where you expected rest. It reveals that the Earth's motion is not an isolated event but the visible crest of a much larger wave. The spin of the planet is a local ripple. The orbit around the Sun is a broader arc. The orbit of the Sun around the galaxy is larger still. The Milky Way's drift through local gravitational terrain is larger again. And then, beyond even that, the universe itself stretches, expands, and carries all of it into a future that no organism can outrun. Every scale unveils another scale, and each one makes the previous one feel almost intimate, almost small. There is a kind of emotional physics in this. At first, the numbers astonish you, then the scale overwhelms you, then the mind resists, because the facts begin to infringe on something deeper than knowledge. Your sense of being anchored. We build our lives around continuity. We say here, now, my place, my time, as though these things are fixed and self-evident. But Earth's motion exposes those words as approximations. They are useful, yes, indispensable even, but they are not absolute. Here is always a relation. Now is always a perspective. Motion is always measured against something else. And the universe, in its vast indifference to our verbal habits, continues to move regardless of how we name it. Yet there is no cruelty in that. There is only depth. And perhaps that is the point where wonder becomes something more mature than fascination. It becomes reverence. Because to understand that you live on a world that cannot stand still is to understand that existence itself is not built on permanence, but on becoming. The Earth's motion through the galaxy is not a defect in the architecture of reality. It is the architecture. Everything is defined by relation, by transit, by change. Stars are born, burn, and die. Galaxies collide and merge. Clusters assemble. Superclusters stretch. Space itself expands. The cosmos is not a museum of objects. It is a field of transformations. And you, with all your fragile, brilliant consciousness, are one of those transformations temporarily aware of itself. This is why the motion of Earth matters so deeply, not because it is merely astronomical, but because it is existential. It reminds you that identity is not a static thing sitting outside time. Identity is continuity through motion. You are not the same atom by atom from one moment to the next. Your cells are changing, your molecules are exchanging, your thoughts arrive and vanish, and the planet beneath you is also changing, carrying you through the galaxy as it changes around you. The self is not a monument, it is a trajectory. Think of the implications. If the self is a trajectory, then memory is not a vault but a wake, a trail left by a moving being through space-time. If the self is a trajectory, then the person you were 10 years ago is not behind a wall of time but behind a distance of becoming. And if Earth itself is a trajectory, then the place where those memories occurred is not fixed in the way your intuition insists. It has been displaced, carried elsewhere, folded into the larger motion of the planet. The childhood room, the hospital hallway, the schoolyard, the street corner, the first place you ever felt afraid or happy or loved, none of it is where it was. Those places are no longer where your mind likes to place them. They are moving with you through the galaxy, abandoned to the past but not lost to the universe. They continue to exist as coordinates in a path you will never walk twice. And here the question of time grows sharper. Because if the Earth is traveling through a changing galaxy, and if your own life is traveling through changing relationships to that motion, then time is not simply what clocks measure. Time is the dimension in which the universe records its own rearrangement. The galaxy does not merely contain history, it is history, unfolded into space. The solar system is not just located in the Milky Way, it is situated within a chronology of stellar birth, spiral arm evolution, chemical enrichment, and gravitational migration. Your present is built from the residues of ancient events. Every breath you take is a negotiation between past explosions, past collapses, past burns in the hearts of long-dead stars. This is where the science becomes almost unbearable in its elegance. You are breathing oxygen that was forged in stellar cores. You are walking on crust made from matter assembled in the aftermath of supernovae. You are warmed by a star whose energy is the delayed consequence of nuclear fusion, and you live on a planet whose orbit is stable because of the long-term architecture of the solar system. The galaxy is not a backdrop to your life. It is the hidden biography of your matter. The atoms in your body have moved through time for billions of years before they ever became part of you. They have known other forms, other temperatures, other stars, and now they are briefly arranged as a mind capable of asking where Earth is going. And perhaps that is the most haunting realization of all. The universe does not merely move around you, it moves through you. The motion of Earth through the galaxy is mirrored in miniature by the motion of blood through veins, of signals through neurons, of breath into lungs, of thought through attention. The body is a planetary system of sorts, full of currents, orbits, cycles, returns. The brain itself is not still. It is a storm of electrical activity, a weather of consciousness, a flickering map of relations. Just as the Earth's motion is hidden within the stillness of daily life, the mind's motion is hidden within the stillness of identity. In both cases, stillness is an appearance. Motion is the truth beneath the appearance. But if motion is the truth beneath appearance, then what else have we mistaken for solidity? What else do we assume is fixed, simply because it does not announce its movement loudly enough for us to notice? The answer, unsettlingly, may be almost everything. Civilizations feel permanent until they do not. Languages feel stable until they shift. Continents seem immovable until they drift. Even the stars are not eternal in the way we once imagined. The universe does not preserve forms. It preserves processes, and the forms we cherish are merely the visible edge of processes that began long before us and will continue long after us. There is a kind of mercy in that too, because if nothing is permanently fixed, then nothing is permanently trapped. The universe is not a frozen cathedral of doomed atoms. It is a living cascade of changes, and every moment is an opening. Earth moves, you move, the galaxy moves. Nothing is finished, nothing is final. Even the vast dark spaces between galaxies are not empty in the absolute sense. They are fields of potential, arenas in which structure continues to evolve over immense scales of time. What looks like emptiness is often only a stage in a much longer process. And this is why scientists do not look into the universe and see only distance. They see story. They see evidence of beginnings, transitions, collisions, expansions, and endings that are not really endings but transformations into new conditions. Earth's motion through the galaxy belongs to that story. It is one chapter in a larger narrative of matter learning to arrange itself into complexity. First atoms, then molecules, then stars, then planets, then life, then consciousness, then understanding, then perhaps the ability to see the motion of one's own world and feel both small and endless at once. You may think that such knowledge should make you feel insignificant, but that is only because we confuse scale with value. The universe is not ranking its creations from large to small as though size were a measure of worth. The fact that Earth is tiny compared to the galaxy does not diminish the depth of what happens here. In some ways it intensifies it. For on this small moving world, in one thin atmosphere wrapped around a rock traveling through space, matter has become capable of reflection. That is not a trivial outcome. That is the cosmos reaching a point where it can contemplate itself, however incompletely. In that sense, your awareness is not an accident outside the universe's meaning. It is one of its rarest expressions. So the final revelation is not that Earth is lost in the galaxy. The final revelation is that Earth is moving inside a structure vast enough to make awareness possible, and that this movement is not an obstacle to meaning, but part of its condition. A motionless universe would be a dead universe, or at least a universe far less interesting than the one we inhabit. Change allows complexity. Motion allows history. History allows memory. Memory allows identity. Identity allows the question. And the question allows the answer to appear. We are here not despite the motion, but because of it. There is something almost devotional in that thought, though it is grounded entirely in physics. The Earth turns. And because it turns, there are day and night, heat and cold, rhythm and season. The Earth orbits, and because it orbits there is climate stability, a habitable zone, a long enough interval for life to diversify. The solar system orbits the galaxy, and because it orbits there is exposure to different environments over geological time, perhaps shaping evolution in ways we are only beginning to understand. The galaxy itself moves through the cosmic web, and because it moves the universe remains dynamic rather than static. Every layer of motion makes the next layer possible. The universe is not merely in motion, it is enabling motion all the way down. And now when you look up, the stars should not seem less mysterious. They should seem more alive with context. Each one is part of a local system, part of a galactic structure, part of a larger cosmic ecology of forces. The sky is no longer a painted dome. It is an atlas of motion. The slow drift of constellations over millennia, the precession of Earth's axis, the proper motion of nearby stars, the rotation of the Milky Way, the expansion of space itself, all of it is happening at once, all of it layered, all of it silent to the senses and undeniable to the mind. What you call the night sky is really the visible skin of an unfolding universe. And perhaps the most astonishing part is that you do not need a telescope to begin understanding this. You need attention. You need the courage to let ordinary perception be revised by deeper truth. You need to accept that what feels stationary may be moving, that what feels simple may be layered, that what feels like an ending may be only a transition between scales. In that acceptance, the world becomes larger, not smaller, more mysterious, not less, more intimate, not more distant, because you are no longer looking at Earth as if it were a stage set under a static sky. You are seeing it as it is, a vessel in motion, inhabited by beings who can perceive the motion and ask what it means. And what it means finally is that you are not separate from the cosmos that carries you. You are one of its ways of knowing itself. You are a temporary pattern in a moving field, a conscious arrangement of matter riding a spinning planet around a star, around a galaxy, through an expanding universe. There is nothing small about that. There is only scale. There is only the astonishing fact that the universe, through you, can become aware of its own motion and feel, for a breathless instant, the grandeur of being part of it. So let the unease remain, but let it transform. Let the doubt mature into insight. Let the vertigo resolve into awe. Earth is moving through the galaxy in a path more complex than any simple story can capture, and yet it is not chaos. It is order in motion. It is the music of gravity written across billions of years. It is the journey of a world that does not stand apart from the universe but is woven into its deepest dynamics. And if that feels almost spiritual, perhaps that is because truth, when it is deep enough, always brushes against reverence. In the end, the galaxy does not make you smaller. It makes your existence more astonishing. Because from within this immense moving architecture, life has emerged, consciousness has emerged, and from consciousness has emerged the capacity to look outward and inward at the same time. That is the real miracle. Not that Earth is moving, but that we can know it is moving. Not that the universe is vast, but that it can be felt. Not that reality is strange, but that strangeness can be understood without losing its wonder. And so you remain here, on a planet that is not still, beneath a sky that is not fixed, inside a universe that is not finished. The motion continues, the question continues, the awe continues, and beyond all the numbers, beyond all the vectors, beyond the velocities and the orbits and the invisible currents of space-time, there is this final, quiet truth. You are not watching Earth move through the galaxy from the outside. You are inside the movement, a conscious ember carried by the greatest journey you will never finish seeing in full, and that is why it matters. And once you truly accept that, the meaning of distance begins to change. Distance is no longer just the space between two objects. It becomes the measure of how reality arranges itself around motion. A kilometer on the surface of the Earth is not the same kind of thing as a kilometer carried by a planet, orbiting a star that is orbiting a galaxy that is itself drifting through the architecture of the universe. Every unit of distance is embedded in a hierarchy of movement, and every journey you make is nested inside larger journeys you do not see. Even your smallest decision to walk across a room is occurring on a world that is crossing the galaxy at incomprehensible speed. The universe does not give you a still point. It gives you layers of transit and asks you to live inside them. That is why the simplest experiences can suddenly feel uncanny once you think deeply enough about them. You open a door, and in the strictest sense, you are not opening a door in a fixed location. You are opening it on a rotating globe, racing around a star, inside a star system moving through a spiral arm, inside a galaxy in motion toward masses you cannot see, inside a universe whose own expansion is carrying the farthest structures away from one another. The act remains ordinary, but the frame around it becomes almost unbearable in its scale. The ordinary is not replaced by the cosmic. It is exposed as cosmic from the beginning. This exposure creates a strange reversal. The more precisely we understand the mechanics of Earth's motion, the less ordinary the world becomes. And yet, paradoxically, the more intimate it feels, because the universe is not speaking in abstractions here. It is speaking in your bones, in your heartbeat, in the rhythm of tides, in the passage of seasons, in the turning of shadows across the floor. The same gravity that binds your body to Earth is the gravity that shapes the orbit of the moon, the structure of the solar system, and the fall of matter into galaxies. There is no separate physics for the human and the cosmic. There is only one fabric, and your life is stitched into it. But that fabric is not smooth. It is warped, folded, and textured by mass and energy in ways that our senses never directly perceive. The Earth moves not through a simple void, but through a space-time landscape carved by invisible concentrations of matter. Nearby stars tug ever so slightly. Molecular clouds alter the solar system's passage. The galaxy's spiral arms produce long-term patterns in the distribution of matter and radiation. Dark matter, that great silent scaffolding, shapes the overall structure while remaining beyond direct sight. And over all of it hovers the expansion of space, patient and relentless, widening the intervals between distant islands of matter. It is a universe of influences layered within influences, each one small in isolation, all of them enormous together. This is where the intellectual awe becomes almost physical. You can feel your mind trying to keep up and failing gracefully. The mathematics can describe the motions, the models can predict the paths, the telescopes can measure the velocities, but the feeling of it, the inner experience of realizing that Earth is not merely rotating but participating in a procession of motions extending from your immediate surroundings all the way to the structure of the observable universe, that feeling is something else entirely. It is a kind of vertigo without falling, a sense that the ground of certainty has shifted without the floor moving at all. And maybe that is the most accurate way to say it. The floor has not moved, but your understanding of the floor has. That is enough to alter reality in a human sense. Because reality, for us, is not only what exists, it is what can be integrated into a usable picture of the world. Once the usable picture becomes too small, it breaks, then it must be replaced. And this replacement is always a little destabilizing. First you learn that Earth is a sphere, then you learn it is spinning, then you learn it is orbiting the sun, then you learn the sun is orbiting the galaxy, then you learn the galaxy is part of a larger gravitational environment, then you learn that the universe itself is expanding. At each stage, the picture widens, and at each stage the old sense of place dissolves a little more. Yet the dissolution is not destruction, it is revelation. It is the kind of revelation that asks something of you. It asks you to let go of the fantasy that reality should be simple enough to fit inside intuition. Intuition is useful, but it was built for a world of predators, weather, fire, and faces. It was not built for relativistic space-time, galactic orbits, or the cosmic web. So when intuition fails, that is not a sign that reality is broken. It is a sign that reality is larger than the mental tools we evolved to survive on the savannah. The universe is not obligated to be intuitive. It is only obligated to be true, and truth in this case is beautiful precisely because it exceeds us. Earth does not glide through space like a marble in a museum case. It participates in a choreography so intricate that every layer of motion depends on the layer beneath it. Rotation gives us the day. Orbit gives us the year. Galactic orbit gives us a much larger calendar written in millions of years. The vertical oscillation through the galactic plane suggests a grander rhythm still, one tied to the density and structure of the Milky Way. The motion of the local group hints at a broader gravitational neighborhood. The cosmic expansion points toward an unfolding fate for all structure. Each motion is not separate from the others. They interlock like gears inside a machine too vast to stand outside of. But machines are usually built by minds, and here the thought becomes almost unbearable in its elegance. The universe is not just a machine. It is also a story that can be read as machinery. We use the language of forces, velocities, frames, and fields because those terms allow us to navigate the structure of motion. But beneath that language is something closer to a narrative of emergence. Matter gathered, stars formed, heavy elements were made, planets condensed, life appeared, consciousness evolved. And now one of the creatures made of that matter is trying to trace the road by which its own world is carried. The universe is not simply being described, it is being translated into understanding. This translation is never complete. It never can be. There will always be more layers, more motions, more structures beyond the current map. Even now, as astronomers refine measurements and simulate the dynamics of our cosmic neighborhood, the larger picture remains provisional. We know Earth's speed relative to the cosmic microwave background. We know the sun's orbit around the galaxy. We know the galaxy's participation in larger flows. But each answer opens a new question. What are the detailed motions of dark matter on the largest scales? How do local gravitational anomalies subtly redirect galactic paths? What unseen structures influence our motion through the cosmic web? The more precisely we know, the more the unknown grows around the edges. And that growing unknown is not a flaw. It is the living boundary of science. Science does not end mystery. It metabolizes mystery into deeper, more precise mystery. Every answer sharpens the question behind it. Every measurement reveals a new horizon. Every map makes the unmapped visible. In that sense, Earth's motion through the galaxy is not just an astronomical fact. It is a demonstration of the scientific condition itself. To learn more is to discover that reality is not a closed box, but a widening field of implications. This widening field is where the emotional tone shifts again. Awe becomes humility. Humility becomes belonging. Belonging becomes something close to peace. Because you begin to understand that the universe is not indifferent in the cold emotional sense we often project onto it. It does not care in the human way, yes. It does not comfort, prefer, or grieve. But it is not empty of significance. It is full of relationships, full of structure, full of consequences. The fact that Earth moves through the galaxy is not a sign that nothing matters. It is the sign that matter itself is active, dynamic, and woven into forms of order that can eventually produce meaning. And perhaps that is the final philosophical tension worth holding. The universe does not need meaning in order to produce beings capable of finding it. That may be the deepest disturbance of all, because meaning is not handed down from the stars like a command. It appears locally in fragile minds, in temporary bodies, on moving worlds, as a response to the existence of structure. We are not separate from the cosmic process asking questions about itself. We are the process, becoming articulate. Earth's motion matters because it is part of the stage on which that articulation becomes possible. So when you imagine the galaxy now, do not imagine a static wheel with the sun and Earth pinned somewhere on its rim. Imagine an immense living field of motion, where every component is responding to every other component, where the solar system is a small but meaningful participant in a layered gravitational ecology, and where your own perception is one of the rare phenomena able to notice the whole thing unfolding. The galaxy is not merely out there, it is the environment in which your species learned scale, patience, and perspective. It taught us, through distance, how to think beyond ourselves, and that teaching is ongoing. Every new generation inherits the same sky, but not the same knowledge of it. Each century refines the picture. Each observation strips away another simplification. We once thought the stars were fixed points on a crystal sphere. Then we learned they were suns. Then we learned our sun was one star among billions in a rotating galaxy. Then we learned the galaxy itself was moving within the large-scale structure of the universe. The story has been one of continual displacement, and yet each displacement has brought us closer to the truth, not farther from it. We do not lose our place by learning this. We find that place was always a relationship, never a pedestal. This is why the experience of cosmic understanding can feel almost sacred, not because it requires belief, but because it requires surrender. You surrender the need to be at the center. You surrender the fantasy of rest. You surrender the idea that reality must conform to the scale of your body. In exchange, you are given something larger, participation in a universe that moves according to laws elegant enough to be discovered and vast enough to remain partially unknown forever. That balance, clarity and mystery, precision and incompletion, is where the deepest beauty resides. The Earth's journey through the galaxy is, in that sense, a lesson in proportion. It teaches you what is close and what is far, what is local and what is universal, what is temporary and what is enduring. It reminds you that even the seemingly fixed things in your life are part of larger rhythms, larger cycles, larger currents. And it tells you that your own awareness is not outside those rhythms, but one of their rarest consequences. You are not watching the universe from a stable observation deck. You are riding inside it, made of it, thinking with it. That realization may not solve every mystery, but it transforms the posture with which you face them. Instead of asking why the universe is so large, You begin to ask why it became legible at all. Instead of asking why Earth is so small, you begin to ask how something so small could be so precisely positioned within a hierarchy of motion that allows life to persist. Instead of fearing your cosmic insignificance, you begin to recognize your cosmic participation. You are not the center of the universe, but you are a center of experience within it, and experience itself is one of the universe's most remarkable outcomes. And now the final movement comes into view, not a conclusion that shuts the door, but a widening of perspective until the motion itself feels like meaning. Earth spins, orbits, oscillates, drifts, and falls. The sun carries us, the galaxy carries us, the larger cosmos carries the galaxy. And through all of that, consciousness emerges briefly, like light over water to witness the great transit. That witnessing does not interrupt the motion, it is part of it. The universe is not merely moving, it is becoming aware of its own movement through you. So let the last feeling be not anxiety but astonishment, not because the universe has become simple, but because it has become intimate in its complexity. You are a moving observer on a moving planet in a moving galaxy in a moving universe, and that fact is not a subtraction from meaning. It is the source of it. The cosmos is not asking you to stand outside it. It is asking you to notice that you were inside all along. So in the end, understand this. Earth's motion is not merely an astronomical fact or a scientific curiosity. It is the expression of a continuous dialogue between you and the cosmos, a cosmic dance that connects us to the birth of stars, to the invisible forces that shape galaxies, and to the very fabric of space and time. Every step we take on Earth is a step within a far greater journey, one without a final destination, only waves of transformation unfolding across scales beyond imagination. We are both travelers and inhabitants, passengers and protagonists at once, within this vast and magnificent spectacle. That is why looking up at the night sky is so much more than seeing points of light against endless darkness. It is feeling the vastness pulse with motion and life. It is recognizing that we are part of a universal story still unfolding, and that within that story, each of us carries the rare ability to perceive it, question it, and be changed by it. And perhaps in acknowledging the complexity and beauty of this journey, we can discover a deeper meaning in our existence. Not a meaning based on permanence or fixed place, but on the truth that we belong to a continuous process of becoming, where motion is not simply movement, but the very essence of being alive in the world. Let this knowledge inspire humility and awe. Let it remind us to value each moment, each breath as part of an odyssey that began billions of years ago, when the first atoms were formed, and will continue long beyond anything we can imagine. Because in the end, the true wonder is not only that Earth moves through the galaxy, but that within that motion, we emerged to witness it, to understand it, and for a fleeting moment, to become conscious of being part of something so vast, so intricate, and so profoundly in motion as life itself. That is the great lesson. We are not static, we are not lost. We are in transit, on a journey that is scientific, poetic, and deeply human all at once. May that understanding stay with us, inspire us, and guide us as we continue our path beneath the silent sky above, carrying Earth, the galaxy, and all of us together in its eternal dance through the cosmos.